Shalom, everybody. This is Rabbi Stuart Darman at Interfaithfulness, where we're building bridges where history builds walls. And today I want to deal with a question that really should have been answered a long time ago, but I don't think it was. The Messianic Movement is a phenomenon which arose in the early 1970s, and it was spawned by what's known as the Jesus Revolution. And many Jews were coming to faith in Yeshua at that time, and some of them got together and formed congregations. The purpose for the congregations was rather pragmatic. They needed a place where they could nurture Jewish identity in Yeshua's name and pass it on to their children. That's a really great purpose. But the question that I don't think was ever asked and answered is this one. Why did God raise up the Messianic Jewish Movement? In other words, what was his purpose for it? I think that's an important question. I think you'll agree, because we're supposed to be meeting God's purposes, serving God's purposes in our lives, and it would be good to know what exactly does he want to see happen in the Messianic Jewish Movement. But in my experience, I have rarely seen the question even raised. And I'd like to give you today 5 alternative answers to that question about why God raised up the Messianic Jewish Movement. And out of the 5, I'll give you a little hint. The last one is my favorite, but maybe you'll have a different favorite. So let's go and let's take a look at them, okay? So why did God raise up the Messianic Jewish Movement? Number 1, did he raise up the Messianic Jewish Movement to be a place where Gentiles can learn Judaism light? Now, I'm not trying to be funny. I was speaking at a Messianic congregation maybe 3 years ago. I did a workshop. And during a break, I said, with some frustration to the people gathered around me, I said, some people think the Messianic movement exists to teach Judaism light to Gentiles. And one of the people in that congregation, a very large congregation, said, yeah, that's why we exist. Is that what you think? Do you think that God raised up the Messianic Jewish movement to teach Judaism light to Gentiles? Now, I'm not against Gentiles, God forbid. But did God raise up the movement as a vehicle for teaching Judaism light to Gentiles? In case you can't guess, I don't think so. Here's the second one. Did God raise up the Messianic movement to be a place where Baptists, especially Baptist ladies, can dance? Now, that's a little funny, but it's kind of serious. Evangelical people, Baptist ladies, and people who go to Calvary chapels and various places like that, they can't dance there. But they come to the Messianic movement, and it's dance time. And is that why God raised up the Messianic movement as a platform for, quote, Davidic dancing? And if you don't know what Davidic dancing is, folks, then you haven't been in the Messianic movement for 10 minutes, because if you are, you'll hear about it, you'll see it. Is that why God raised up the Messianic movement? Again, I don't think so. Now we come to our third reason. Did God raise up the Messianic movement to be a place where Jews and Gentiles can lose their distinctives and become one new man? This is very much the rage nowadays. Was it God's intention that at the end of time there'd be a movement where Jews can kind of back off a little bit on their Jewish shtick, and Gentiles can learn to do the Jewish thing, and instead of being Jews doing their thing and Gentiles doing their thing, it becomes an amalgam of Jews and Gentiles with a new superculture called one new man. I believe in the one new man, but I also believe it's widely misunderstood, and I'll teach a Red Door Diary about it pretty soon and tell you what I think. But I want to know what you think. Do you think that what God was after when he raised up the Messianic movement was that it should be a place where Jews and Gentiles could modify their cultures into one superculture and become that kind of one new man? In case you can't guess, I don't think so. But I'd love to know what you think. Number 4, did God raise up the Messianic Jewish movement to be a place where Gentiles and Jews can, quote, celebrate the feasts, end quote, and observe the Sabbath, which the, quote, apostate church, end quote, forgot? Did God raise up the Messianic movement to be a place where Gentiles and Jews can celebrate the feasts and observe the seventh-day Sabbath. Is that why God raised it up? Some people think so. Some congregations are all about this. But is this why God raised up the Messianic movement? I have a lot to say about that, and I'll do a Red Door Diary about this one too. But for now, I just want you to know, I don't think so. I don't think that's why God raised up the Messianic Jewish Movement, to be a place where Jews and Gentiles can celebrate the feasts and observe the seventh-day Sabbath. Sorry, doesn't work for me. Here's the fifth, which is the one I favor. Hold it a second. Let's see. Number 5. Oh, just a minute. I'm going to give you back number 2. And I'm going to give you number 5. Here it comes. Did God raise up the Messianic Jewish Movement to be a community which is called to be a sign, a demonstration, and a catalyst of God's consummating purposes for the seed of Jacob? In other words, is the Messianic movement meant to be a preview of coming attractions of what God is up to with the Jewish people? I think yes. As I've told you in a previous Red Door Diary, I believe at the end of time, God is going to bring that Ezekiel the prophet in chapter 37, verse 21 to 28. Look at it. He gives you a description of the fullness of Israel, that God will bring the Jewish people back to the land, that he'll unify the Jewish people as a people, that he'll bring them to spiritual renewal and repentance, that he will cause the Jewish people to serve the Messiah, that he will, number 5, that he will bring Jewish people back to observe his statutes and ordinances. Number 6, that he'll cause his divine presence to rest upon this nation collectively. And number 7, by doing that, he will vindicate his name in the sight of the nations. Is that why God raised up the Messianic Jewish Movement? To be a preview and a catalyst and a demonstration of that purpose? I think so. You don't have to think what I think. But I would challenge you, if you're involved in the Messianic movement, that you should be very concerned if you sense that your congregation or the movement in general is serving trivialities or serving shtick. It's serving gimmicks. Because someday we're going to give an account of ourselves to God. And he's going to ask us what we did with our lives, or what we did with our movement. And we better not be preoccupied with nonsense. We should seek the will of God and do it. I'll leave you with that now, looking forward to seeing you again here at Interfaithfulness, where we're building bridges, where history builds walls. Shabbat Shalom.